Welcome our first attendees. Thanks for being so much on time. And welcome to our webinar. Very interesting topic. The umbrella topic for today, as you already know, is studying international business and business administration in Germany. And my name is Georgi, the least interesting person for you for today. And we have several guests from German universities who will present their programs. That's why I don't want to talk a lot because the most interesting part is it's not my part. But let me quickly tell you, for those who are not familiar that much with the Zoom webinar setting. So you can see the Q&A button. Okay, someone already knows it a lot. Great. So you can see the Q&A button in the bottom part of your Zoom interface. It is already open. And it is a main communication line between us and you. So this is the button that you should use when you have any question. So you send in your questions there, and most of the questions will be addressed towards the end of our webinar. So after 2 presentations are done, then our speakers themselves will address your questions live. So make a good use of this opportunity and send in as many questions and as many relevant questions as possible. So let me now start with my part. I have a short presentation for you today, and then I will invite our guests to take the floor. So first of all, agenda for today. As I said, there's 2 German universities. So the first one is Hochschule für Technik und Wirtschaft des Saarlandes, and we have Professor Dr. Markus Münter, who will present the BA level program in international business, and he will be assisted by current student Megan. You can also see her in front of your screens. And then we'll move to Technische Hochschule Wildau, and we have Professor Dr. Christian Hederer, and we will move now to the master's level, and he will talk about Master of Arts level program in European management. Before we reach this part, so for those who do not know who is behind today's webinar, it is My German University. And we are Germany's largest database of English taught study programs. So when it comes to mostly English, at least mostly English taught study programs, then we have the largest database for that. We have over 2,500 degree programs, both on bachelor level, as you can already understand, and also master's level. But even more, we have also some short courses and language courses listed in our database. Our main goal is to help students who would like to study in Germany to reach this dream, so to say. And we do it in 3 key ways. So one of the ways is through our study finder. So on the left-hand side, you can see the small version of our study finder. But when you visit our website, and in the top left corner, you will be able to see the full version of study finder with all of its filters, which means that you will be able to find your program not only according to the city or the discipline you are interested in, even according to your TOEFL score, your IELTS score, whether the program is using UniAssist or not to process the applications from international students. So it can even go that deep, and which means that you will be able to find the desired program much more efficiently and time effectively. So the next way of helping you is another effective way from my perspective, and useful one, is through our articles. We have more than 150 comprehensive articles on topics related to studying in Germany. For example, if you are interested in what is Hochschulstart or language requirements, or how to write a letter of motivation or CV for German universities, or German student visa, or DAD scholarship, or studying medicine in Germany, or rankings of universities, or blocked accounts, so even and more. So please visit our page. We have articles on these topics, and you have access to them for free. And the last but not least, also we have some webinars. Even more than 150 webinars, to be honest, per year. And the topics, again, are very different. It can be UniAssist webinar, it can be visa webinar, it can be scholarships webinar, it can be general studying in Germany webinar, or the subject webinar, like the one that you're attending right now. For example, it can be studying international business in Germany, or studying MBA in Germany, studying physics in Germany, philosophy, logistics, and more. All of the webinars that are already planned, you can find them in our webinar section on our page, and you can sign up for these webinars and attend these webinars for free, of course. My suggestion would be also to open an account on our page, and it's also for free, of course. By doing that, you will be able to unlock all of the options that our website is able to offer you. And as for our team, we are based in Hamburg, in North Germany, but we are also all over Germany and all over the world. And that's why we are counseling in different languages. You can see some of them listed below. So for those who are also interested in German study programs, I would also suggest you to check out Hochschulkompass. There you might find some interesting programs related to international business and business administration. But for those who are more into English study programs, and I suppose that most of you, if not all of you, belong to this category, then My German University and our study finder should be your stop. There are lots of programs in our database related to international business and business administration discipline, and you can see that we have bachelor and master's levels programs, and most of them are English only, which means that you do not need any knowledge of German to successfully get into these programs and complete them. But of course, keep in mind that knowing German in a country like Germany is always a good idea. So for those who do not know what to expect when it comes to studying these exact disciplines in Germany, my suggestion also would be to check out our subject pages, which will help you to create kind of a big picture of what does it mean to study these subjects in Germany, what are the rankings of universities that are offering these study programs, what is the tuition fee ranges, and more. So regarding tip from us, of course, it's important to take into account fees, rankings, names and cities, etc., etc. But taking only one element and based only on ranking, for example, choosing the program is a very wrong approach. Don't do that. Take into account as many elements as possible together. Also, and then only then you will be able to make a correct and informed decision. Always get acquainted with the syllabus, always get acquainted with the study mode, and then because this is very individual thing, and making a right choice is the crucial step towards your successful education and then career. Also, I would like you to know about two types of universities in Germany. The first type of university, it is called Universität type of university, and in our study finder you can control, for example, programs that are offered by this type of university in international business and business administration. And a second type of university is called, in English, University of Applied Sciences, and in German can have some various variations. And also in study finder you can also control for these types of universities that are offering programs in international business and business administration. The key difference for now that I would like you to have a takeaway from today's afternoon, if you like, is that when it comes to Universität type of university, the focus is usually more on research and theory, and in case of University of Applied Sciences, the focus lies more on application and practice. And last but not least, another suggestion. So in combination of those elements that I mentioned before, please also, when you're searching the programs in our study finder, be a little bit flexible, not too strict at least, with wordings. So when you combine this kind of flexibility with the elements that I mentioned before, then you'll make sure that you are aware of almost, if not all, of the opportunities that Germany is able to offer you in this regard. And then you will be able to make an informed decision, which is crucial, as I said before. All right. So now we are moving to the most interesting part. As I said, we are moving to HTW-Saar, University of Applied Sciences. And it's Professor Dr. Markus Thomas Münter, and he will now introduce the Bachelor of Arts level program in international business. And you can see also on the map that we are in the quite south of Germany, even almost entering France, so to say. So let me stop my screen share here and invite our guest to take the floor.
Thank you very much indeed, Georgie, for introducing, first of all, my German university, and then, of course, us. So, Georgie, can you see my presentation? Is that online now?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, guys, I was just kind of wondering, looking at your names, if you can maybe drop just a single line in the Q&A where you come from, so that we can relate a little bit on to your home countries, and maybe later on be more specific when it comes to questions. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm not alone here today. I have a student with me, which is Megan. So Megan, maybe you can wave. Yeah. And the two of us are representatives of HTW-Saar, as we call it in Germany. So it's HTW-Saar. The Saar is related to the river in the city where we live in Saarbrücken, but that doesn't matter too much. We are both part of the international business program. I'm a professor and I'm the director of this program. And Megan currently is a student in the 4th grade. So she visited my lecture last semester in the winter. And she's currently studying a couple of things that are not that interesting, maybe, I don't know, marketing and stuff like that. But she's going abroad in the winter. So this is the two of us. However, it's not only the two of us. 𝘱𝘬𝘪 is a lot larger than the two of us. We are a pretty large university right now of applied sciences, as 𝘱𝘢𝘪 just mentioned. We have approximately 6,000 students currently, and we are growing. We are composed of 4 schools. Definitely the largest school by now is the business school, where we are located. In addition to that, we have architecture, with engineering, which is also pretty large, and social sciences. We have approximately 25% students coming from abroad, which means that these guys are not from Germany, not from France, not from Luxembourg, not from Belgium, because we consider that the larger region of Saarbrücken, and they are, literally speaking, not from abroad, but essentially from the region. We have a pretty strong research record. However, the focus of University of Applied Sciences is on teaching. We've received a couple of very nice awards during the last years regarding the teaching. We have top-ranked programs by now, and of course, sitting in Saarbrücken, being located somewhere next to France, Luxembourg, etc., with an excellent network with international firms, businesses, and of course universities. The business school has approximately 200 staff. The total university is approximately 600. And we are running 31 bachelor and a couple of master's degrees currently. So I mentioned we are happy to share that we top ranked in Germany with the CHE. You see that on the right-hand side. We made for the program that we're currently talking about, international business, the top 3 in Germany. We're number 7 out of all universities in Germany with regard to the study check. And I know, relating to our other guests today, they are pretty high on the list as well. So congrats, there's 2 wonderful universities today here on this session. So where exactly is Saarbrücken? Most of you have probably never been to Saarbrücken. Some of you might have been to Germany. Saarbrücken is, if you look at the map here, literally speaking, in a triangle between Frankfurt, Paris, and Zurich. So it's a 2 hours drive by train to Paris. It's a 2 hours drive by car to Frankfurt, and it's a 2 hours flight to Zurich. Megan just mentioned to me last week, because I had on the slides, it's 2 hours to Zurich. No, it's approximately 4 hours by car, but you can be quicker if you pick a plane from Luxembourg to Zurich, and the Luxembourg airport is pretty close to Saarbrücken. So this is where we're located. And the region is dominated by students. So out of the 180,000 people living in Saarbrücken, approximately 30,000 are students. So it's a pretty student-like city, very young people. So if you go downtown, you meet always your fellow students. Of course, every now and then a professor, and you can easily relate to other people. What is specific about the region? That's definitely that the region used to have another background, but is now becoming the AI and cybersecurity center of Europe. Because of 𝘱𝘬𝘪 and the University of Saarbrücken, there's a couple of relations between the two of them, technology-wise and regarding research. And what is really worth living there is the international flair in this specific region. So this is a bird's eye view on the university. This is mainly the building where we teach, where we do our research, etc. It's in the city of Saarbrücken, however, somewhere next to some trees at least. There's currently 2,700 students working there, 48 professors. We have lots of guest lectures from firms in Saarbrücken and in Luxembourg and a couple of other cities. We have a pretty strong welcoming department for international first-year students. And of course, 𝘱𝘢𝘪 mentioned that if you're not really fluent in German, that's not a problem really with regard to the university and studying there, but it might be helpful if you grab a couple of German words at least and phrases in order to do your shopping and meet friends, etc. downtown. And we offer free courses in German at the business school itself. So what is so special about the international business program that I currently try to describe here? First of all, we have wonderful professors, and as Georgie mentioned, and this is basically true at the 𝘱𝑒𝑪𝑎 in specific, is all these professors have a background in business. So all of us have some career somewhere, specifically in tech firms, in consulting, in advisory, with the Big Four, etc. And for some reason decided to return to academics and start teaching. We have a pretty strong network of global partnerships. So we have currently 22 or 23 partner universities across the globe. We can go abroad. We offer a couple of double degrees for all the international students. So if you go abroad, then you can, of course, do a degree somewhere else and then bring it on home. And then you have a double degree. In the international business program, we have approximately 40 new students every year. We're trying to increase that number. This is why I'm here today. Of these 40 people, 30% on average have international foreign background. We offer lots of internships, especially with the firms in the region, but we have a large number of industry projects. And of course, the 𝘱𝑒𝑪𝑎 is well known for the pretty lively and successful startup scene. So, of course, you will be in touch with the startups of 𝘱𝑒𝑪𝑎. You cannot kind of miss them. And of course, they offer jobs as well. So that's very nice to have that. And the region offers massive job opportunities, especially with respect to AI, big data, cybersecurity, and all these things. And of course, there's people with background in international business needed as well. What happens once the people finish their studies, typically they continue with the master's program, not always with the 𝘱𝑒𝑪𝑎. Sometimes they go to Luxembourg, sometimes to Frankfurt, sometimes to Kaiserslautern, etc., to other cities to delve deep into some specifics that they're interested in. And after that, typically they start careers in consulting, in tech, or in a startup, and especially in Luxembourg in the finance, because Luxembourg is a pretty strong location for asset management banking. To give you an idea of how the program looks like, the strategy of the business school is based on 3 pillars. They are digitalization, sustainability, and entrepreneurship, because we think these are the most valuable and important things that you should know as a younger generation for the next 25, 30 years to transform the global society. And of course, we take that into our international business program. And of course, we try to boost your analytical skills, your decision-making skills. And we are pretty well aware of the fact that you essentially will work on cross-functional projects. So we try to teach you that in terms of working with engineers, working with people from other departments, from other research areas. And of course, you should, in the end, be able to lead cross-cultural teams. You should definitely leverage diversity, which we think is crucial for being successful in a diverse world out there. And of course, we think that critical thinking is at the heart of performing well in firms, and then, of course, receiving very good decisions. These are just a couple of pictures of my colleagues, and I just want to highlight 2 of them. You see, second from left, Mana Mojadar. Mana Mojadar is the professor of finance at 𝘱𝑒𝑪𝑎. She used to be the CFO of SAP in Italy. She's teaching finance, valuation, a couple of other things, running a couple of startups at the 𝘱𝑒𝑪𝑎, and is pretty well known with the students, and lots of students write the bachelor thesis or the master thesis with her. And we have Frank Helsig. Frank Helsig has a background from consulting, and he's probably the pricing expert in Germany, and he's a professor here at the school. So if you're interested in pricing and marketing, in e-commerce, in stuff like that, then he's the person to get in touch. And you see a couple of other colleagues, including me. We have a large variety of backgrounds, and if you want to get in touch, you see a LinkedIn profiles just below the pictures. So over the weekend, if you want to get in touch, just click on the pictures or get in touch with the people via LinkedIn. So a couple of more details regarding the International Business Program. It's a Bachelor of Arts, so not of Science, but of Arts. And the full duration is 3 years, so that's 6 semesters. You will definitely spend 1 semester abroad. We'll show you a picture of the countries in a minute. The whole program is in English, so all the teaching, lecturing, everything that you do will be in English. We start typically mid-October with the lectures. You should apply by 15th of July this year. There is no tuition fees. However, you have to pay a contribution to the 𝘱𝘢𝘪𝘥 University, which is approximately 300 euros currently. And of course, we have some of our programs, and including this one here. So this is how the program looks like. It starts during the first 3 semesters with the core economics and business classes and courses, so including marketing, for example, strategic management, finance, but obviously, because it's international business, also international economics, macroeconomics, microeconomics, and we have a pretty strong statistics and math department, so we have a deep drill on data science and statistics. After these first 3 semesters, so after the first 1.5 years, you may choose electives and majors from international accounting, international logistics, or international marketing. Spend a semester doing a deep dive in these areas here, and then with semester 5 you go abroad. See a couple of the flags here, so that includes, for example, New Zealand, China, the US, Japan, Finland, etc. Most of the people obviously stay in Europe. However, some go really far away and then return after 6 months. And once they return, typically at the end of the studies, they write their bachelor thesis, which is a research paper with a professor in the 6th semester, and then your studies are over. So where do our former students work? This is just a selection. You see a couple of firms that are pretty much located in Saarbrücken or the Saarbrücken area, including the Hager Group, for example, producing electrics, or Bosch, which is a major supplier for the car industry, or Festo as well. But you also see a couple of larger financial institutions like Deutsche Bank in Luxembourg especially. And you see obviously a couple of tech firms, Google, SAP, Facebook, but most prominently, this is what I want to highlight, most of our students end up being a management consultant, for example, with PricewaterhouseCoopers, Accenture, Deloitte, etc. So typically in the management consulting and advisory field where they then start a career and for a couple of years stay. So how is the procedure of becoming a student, a fellow student of Megan, and obviously then a student of me myself? First of all, you have to fulfill a couple of academic requirements. That means you have to have a university entrance qualification for Germany. You have to have a very good level of English, which is B2, and we require a little bit of German, which is B1, and you can acquire that once you apply at the University of 𝘱𝘢𝘪𝘥, and we help you getting this B1 level. Yeah. International applicants must go via uni assist. This is what Georgie already mentioned. The deadline for application is July 15th, so that's another 6 weeks from now. And if you have any question, you can of course talk to me, you can talk to Megan, but the most helpful email address is definitely the one that you see here on the bottom of the slide. This is apply@hdvisar.de. There's a wonderful lady, Halima Lentis, and she knows everything regarding all the countries where probably you come from when it comes to how can I receive a studentship at 𝘱𝑎𝑑𝑣𝑠𝑎. So on the last slide, essentially, I have been talking about, well, topics, the program, the professors, etc. But studying at 𝘱𝑎𝑑𝑣𝑠𝑎, that could really be fun. And you see a couple of pictures of the events that we typically do. So we meet with firms. We have larger events where we talk about business development or startups. We have events where we share experiences with the colleagues from engineering, top right, for example. We have lots of guest speakers from the startup scene in Saarbrücken, from Luxembourg. Of course, we visit firms. You see that down on the left. And every now and then you see the picture in the middle. We have what we call the Women at Business Roundtable, where only women are allowed, obviously, and they meet a management consultancy or something and talk about specific stuff that is related to women. So thank you very much for your attention. It was a pleasure of being around. Thanks for having me. And if you have any questions, just drop a line to the chat and the Q&A, and I'd be around for another hour. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Professor, for a very insightful presentation. And thank you, Megan. Already, she is addressing some questions already. Thank you, attendees, for keeping her busy. And let us move now to our next speaker. So we are moving now towards closer to Berlin, I would say, and it is Technical University of Applied Sciences Wildau. And we have Professor Dr. Christian Hederer, as I introduced already, and we will now talk about Master of Arts level program in European Management. I saw there were some questions regarding master's level. So here we are. Professor, please.
Thank you very much for having here. I'm very pleased to present the master's program in European Management, Europäisches Management, here in this session. My name is Christian Hederer. I'm a professor of economics, and I'm the program director of that master's program. So maybe before I start, some quick words about the university as such. It was already said that Wildau is close to Berlin. It's in fact southeast in the province of Brandenburg. And the campus has a kind of attractive location in the sense that on the one hand, it is actually pretty rural. It's pleasant and quiet, and it has a nice set of architecture there. But on the other hand, it is absolutely within the reach of Berlin. It's part of the metropolitan area. And you can go to the center of Berlin with all its dynamics, the startup scene and so on, in less than 1 hour by a semi-fast train. So the campus is, as such, as I said, is a very nice one. We have, for example, a library that was even awarded an architectural award back in 2012. It's by all standards a medium-sized university. So we have, it's at the same time the largest university of applied sciences in the province of Brandenburg. We have currently about 3,200 students, of which 18% are international ones. We have about 90 professors and about 500 employees, both in the scientific and non-scientific area. So the university actually originated as an engineering school, but then was extended to the business, informatics, and law area as well. So we have 2 faculties now. One is the Faculty of Engineering and Natural Sciences, and the other one that I'm naturally working in is the Faculty of Business, Informatics, and Law. And you see from their titles already that we are pretty interdisciplinarily oriented. So we really aim to have a good combination, particularly of business and law, which means also that there is a strong connection to economic policy, something that is then reflected in our study program that I will talk about in 1 minute. Last but not least about the university, we are pretty strong in research. In fact, one of the strongest universities of applied sciences in the research area. And well, we also have a ranking in the study check category award for the category of universities that have less than 5,000 students. We recently received the rank 3 in Germany. With that, let me continue to present the program as such. So here are the basics. We are talking about a Masters of Arts program with a duration of 4 semesters, of which 3 semesters would be devoted to the actual course program, and the final one to the master's thesis. The courses are completely taught in English. There are, well, since it's a public university, no tuition fees to be paid, just administrative fees. And we have a group size of around 30 students, which is, however, growing. So we are generally in a situation of a strongly growing set of applicants. We are also internationalizing very strongly. So we now have a share of non-German students that exceeds 80%. And of those, in turn, non-European students constitute a larger and larger constituency. We also have double degree programs. I will talk about that later, of which we have some incoming students and also Erasmus students. So that is the current state of affairs. And now let me talk about the curriculum a little bit. So this is, in fact, really, the core criterion, in my view, that should guide your decision for or against that program, because it is really a kind of specific combination of different competencies that you are trained in. So on the one hand, there, of course, and you see that on the bottom left and the upper right, the classical, if you will, Business competencies. So we offer business concentrations on which currently you can choose 2 out of 3. That's international financial management, human resources management, and international market management. On the other hand, we also have the general management and leadership skills like negotiations and conflict management and project management. We combine that with something that is probably more specific for a business master program like that, namely with European competencies, which have a strong economic and policy bent. That is, in fact, partly offered by myself then. So we have courses in European public policy, in which you are really introduced into the set of European institutions of political decision-making, the structure of the European Union, and another one in European economic policy, which really introduces you into the depth of the EU single market, and also, for example, the economics of the currency union. We have a fairly open format, which is called the International Business Project, which is something that partly gets you in touch with local businesses, but not only with businesses, but partly also with the local administration. So we've had some quite interesting cooperations with the local administration going on. And last but not least, since we have discovered or seen that backgrounds are very different and are diverse in that respect, we also have introduced a specific introduction to research and methods and academic writing that is then supposed to support you in writing your master's thesis. Last but not least, there are a couple of compulsory elective modules that in fact are quite diverse as well. You have some examples on the slide here. So this is how the structure is constructed here. So you have the international business specializations running through 3 semesters. So you choose 2 out of 3. And then you have basically the other competencies grouped around that, starting from management, European public policy, going on all the way to the elective modules, and finally to the 4th semester, where you would write the master's thesis and the oral examination. Now, it's an English-speaking program, and the school has been traditionally relatively strong in establishing cooperation with abroad. In fact, there are quite a few of them. And what you have here is more a set of examples rather than a complete list. I think the most interesting feature that we can offer, particularly to strengthen your European competencies, is 2 double degree programs, which means that you basically attend the 4 semesters. You have 1 semester in the partner university, and then you get 2 degrees. One German one, and then the respective French one and the Spanish one. When you go for the Spanish one, you even have the opportunity to get a certificate that is personally signed by the King of Spain. So if this is something that provides a specific incentive, please go for it. The University de Lille program is located in northern France. So this one is in English. If you want to go to Córdoba, which is in southern Spain, then in fact you would need a B1 level of Spanish, which however partly can be acquired in the module European Identities, which educates you in European competencies in a more general sense. We have some Erasmus Plus partners, of which you have a choice here. You see there's a certain emphasis on Eastern Europe here, which does refer to the historical as well as geographical location of the place. I mean, after all, we are in former Eastern Germany, and we do have a fairly good network there. For example, as you see, Czech Republic, Lithuania, Poland is represented here. We also have some partners that are overseas. 2 examples are here, namely in Australia and in Canada. Okay, well, in organizational terms, this is designed as a full-time on-campus program. You can go for a part-time option of 7 semesters, which might be particularly interesting for the ones of you who are interested in working part-time. The teaching is in principle, of course, taking place on campus, but there's also has developed a habit to offer hybrid courses, which is particularly practiced in the 1st semester, because we have collected some experience with the students who would not be able to arrive in time because of visa issues. And also it's in a way a heritage of the Corona phases that we are using this format quite intensely now. Okay, now some words about the admission requirements. We have tried to keep that open in a certain extent by not only allowing students who have acquired a bachelor's degree in business management or economics to enter the program, but also to do that if you have attended a degree in a related field, which would then require you to at least attend 5 modules of the following topics that you have. So I don't want to go through all of them. It's an overview, but basically it makes sure that, for example, if you have studied political sciences, sociology, or you come from another neighboring field, you would be able to enter, but you would need to prove that you have a minimum coverage of these areas, which means at least 5 modules. You need English proficiency of C1. That's the normal requirement that we have. It's also possible if you have a bachelor's degree that was 100% taught in English, that in fact would satisfy the language requirement in that way. Or there's also a possibility if you have at least 40 credits attended in English, that you then enter the program with a B2 level. The most important requirement is in fact the international work experience. So this is something that is quite key, and that in fact we do take seriously. So it's international work experience, which basically means 2 things. So even if you have either you have done an internship abroad, which means in a different country than your home country, that internship would have to be full-time at least 8 weeks. Or in fact, you have worked in your home country, but then you need to prove that you have a substantial international component, which normally can be shown by confirmation of the employer. So here is the gist about the admission process. So I suppose most of you will have a foreign bachelor's degree rather than a German one. So like in the case of my colleagues, the application period is until 15th of July. It is important, we have had some problematic experiences with that in the past, that if you need a visa for Germany, to really make sure an arrangement as soon as possible. What I can do from my side concerning the admission requirements is to provide you with a non-binding preliminary assessment of your qualification, which would be possible until the 25th of June. Okay, well, here's something about the career possibilities. I mean, we have in the past been relatively successful to place our graduates, particularly in the region. So there are many people who have in fact found jobs in the SME and also startup scene of Berlin. There are some large companies represented too, but in fact the medium-sized companies and the startups in fact have been important employers of our graduates. So this is really a specific criterion or a specific fact related to our region. Another specific is that in line with what I stressed before, that we really also stress this policy component and the policy factors. We do have a fair amount of people who have found jobs in the public administration and in interest groups. Yeah, so for example, people would work in the Federation of German Industries and other interest groups, for which Berlin is obviously, as the capital of Germany, strategically a very good location. Okay, well, the rest is in fact technicalities. Here's the website, and of course, questions are welcome then in the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your presentation. Another very informative presentation. That's why we have lots of questions that we need to address. So let me now open the floor for the live Q&A session, actually. And let me start with the first question that I have in the list. Hi, for the master's program, what are the application ECTS requirements? So it's for you, Professor Heder.
Well, the ECTS requirements is that you have a bachelor's degree, which must have at least 180 ECTS, 6 semesters. That is the standard. It's a 4 semesters master's program. That is why on the bachelor's level, you need 6 semesters. And 6 semesters full-time corresponds to 180 ECTS.
Thank you very much for your answer. So I know that Megan cleared the board, but there are some questions that I want everyone to hear also, because there are lots of unanswered questions and students might miss something. I think it's also important to know for the semester abroad that was described by Professor, do students have to pay any extra tuition fees for that?
Sorry, is that a question to me or to?
It is no, for Zar.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, probably, but you can maybe follow up. No, actually, we cover more or less all the costs because there's a couple of programs and financing options that we offer, and they're, of course, typically then taken by the students. However, there might be universities which are far away, like New Zealand, for example, or China, requiring specific arrangements where there's a bit of a financial involvement of the student, but typically there is no real cost.
Okay, good to know. Thank you very much. Now let's move. It's your question for you, Professor Heder. The question stands at: how many elective courses can students choose, and is it possible to choose them across faculties?
It's 3 elective courses out of a larger set that we are offering in the 3rd semester. So that is the elective courses in the narrow sense. I would also have to stress that you have additional choices in the curriculum as I showed it. So one of the choices is the international business concentration. You choice currently among 3. You would have to choose 2 out of 3. And you also have a choice, I didn't mention that in my presentation, in the module called European Identities, which you can do in different languages. So the standard one is English, but there would also be a possibility to do it in Spanish, in French, or in German for that matter. So the elective modules themselves are 3. At the moment, we do not offer them across faculties. So they would be restricted to the Faculty of Business Informatics and Law. I mean, the range of topics that is covered there is fairly broad. There are legal ones, you have seen that, like European business law, European labor law for that matter. There are also quite specialized business topics such as risk management. But currently, we are not offering electives that would really relate to the other faculty, namely the one of engineering and natural sciences.
Okay, clear. Thank you very much for your answer. Then the next question, and let me move again to Zar. Do you have any specific requirements about the grades in high school?
That is a difficult question, actually. It depends a little bit on the high school and the country where the person comes from. But in general, let's say no. However, we have a close look at the final certificate that people bring from their school in order to assess whether this is appropriate to start a study in Germany. And this is what the thing means, that you have to go via uni assist to get the VPD. Yeah.
Okay, clear. Thanks. And yeah, there was a VPD question, just to make a note once again, dear attendees. So you can also find more information regarding the VPD. I shared information in the chat. I know it can be complicated when you don't know it. So, but yeah, you can read the article, then it becomes really clear. So question from Andre, and it's question for Wildau. Is part-time available for students outside the EU?
Yeah, that is a question that I would hesitate now to answer definitively, because it depends on the visa conditions.
Yeah.
That is something that our specialist would need to answer, because I'm not completely sure whether it would be enough for a student visa to really just take the part-time course. So on that one, I would like to refer you to our international office.
Thank you, Professor. Then question for Zar again. From Ilavan, are all applications that meet the requirement accepted? So actually there was 2 questions regarding that, Professor Münter. So this one, and then there was another question whether it is a numerus clausus program. So basically the same question.
It's not for the time being. We typically have a capacity at university across various programs. So if there is very good candidates trying to enter the international business program, then we shift a little bit of the capacity to that one, because we're interested in acquiring more international students, because that is valuable for the university first, valuable for the region where we live. And of course, we have a pretty strong, let's say, force of people teaching in English. So we're always happy to get new people in from other countries. So there's definitely currently no numerus clausus, so no cutoff regarding specific grades that you've received at school.
Okay, clear. Thank you, Professor. Professor Heder, there's a question for you, but before I read out this question, I received inquiry that person is from the phone device and he still can see, or she can see the shared screen. Could you stop the screen share for time being, please?
That's mine?
No, it's for Professor Heder.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you very much, no problem. Yeah, from the phone, it's a bit problematic, I understand. Then the question for you from Ezekiel, question from Professor Heder. do you require any minimum CGPA for the application?
You mean a grade average?
Yes.
Yeah, no, currently not. So it's also like the other program, it's not restricted by numerous clauses at the time, which means that there's no grade average that is required. So it's only about the graduation, the degree itself that is checked. Together with the other criteria that I mentioned, so the English requirements and particularly the professional experience.
Okay, great, thank you. Now it's a general question for both of you actually, and it was also to a certain extent mentioned during the presentation as well, but let's start with Professor Munitta. What is the class size at, in this bachelor's program?
Okay, good question. Depends a little bit on actually the module. So if we're looking at microeconomics, for example, when I teach, class size is typically 35 to 40 people, but it might be even smaller once you start your electives and your majors, especially in your fourth semester and sixth semester. So there might be also very small working groups specializing on digitalization or entrepreneurship, etc., where it's just like 8 or 10 people. So this is the minimum size, and the maximum size definitely would be math and statistics. That's then 40 to 45, something like that.
Okay, clear. And I remember that Professor Heder said around 30. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, I mean, that is the size of the class, in fact. So when it comes into the size of the classes, that can be significantly smaller as well, because people would choose their business concentrations, they would choose their electives, and thereby the classes can be very small. I mean, in fact, I have taught classes with 5 students too, so that's well possible. Okay,
clear. Thank you. Then another important question that was, there were 2 questions like this, and I felt that there was a bit confusion regarding the German language requirement, Professor Munitta. So to once again, to make it clear, so the question is, did I get it correct that B1 German is not required for the application itself?
But then you have to do it. So you can apply without it, and you have to promise to fulfill the requirement once you start the studies, which is then in October. And typically we help people to acquire this skill of B1 in German, which is, to be very honest, not that complicated. And then you don't need it at the school, but we think it's appropriate for the students to deal with administration, of course, to do your living in Saarbrücken.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's clear. Then a question for Professor Hederer from ESTA. What happens when you don't have an international job background?
Well, if that criterion is not fulfilled, then admission would not be possible. So once again, the criterion would be that you have at least 8 weeks of experience. And there are 2 options to fulfill the internationality requirement. One is simply that the internship or the professional experience has been taken abroad. And abroad in this case means that it must be different from your home country. That's important, right? I mean, of course, so it's not enough, for example, if you are residing in India and you have done your internship in India, that would not be counted as abroad. So you really want to have this kind of cross-border experience here. The other possibility, however, is if you have done it at home, that you then can prove by the profile of the experience of the job that you have done, ideally by a detailed description of the employer, that you had an international component, a substantial international component for that matter, which, for example, means that you have systematically dealt with international customers, including some, fairly well-known companies. Those are the typical cases we would have had, right? Or people have worked in international marketing, or they really have had basically a tele job, an online job that related very much to other countries and so on. So those are the typical possibilities, but that would really need to be documented, and then it would be acceptable. But without the international experience, so it's if there is either no professional experience or one that is exclusively related to domestic issues, admission would not be possible.
Okay, clear, thank you. And there was also a related question, is 2 years experience enough? So as long as it meets the requirement, 2 years is also quite enough, right, Professor?
Of course, yeah. So the minimum duration is 8 weeks, as I said. But you cannot. So really, the things have to be kept apart, right? So one thing is the duration. In terms of the duration, it's simply 8-week minimum, and this is of course fine in that respect. Just to be clear, a longer job experience cannot replace the international component. Yeah, so even in the case of 2 years, of course, that extends much our requirements, but still you would need to prove these substantial international component here.
Okay, clear. Thank you very much, Professor Ederer. And now, Professor Munter, question for you. What is the weight of quantitative analysis in the program?
I cannot really give you a number here, which relates to the quantitative thing. But we have courses on math and statistics, etc. So maybe Megan can tell. It's in total, it should be 12, or is that 16? I don't know, Megan. How many hours is that?
I believe 12. We have one statistic course and one math course.
Yeah, so it's 12. So it's not a pretty large number. However, well, it's selective. Let's put it that way. And of course, we need these skills from math and statistics later on in microeconomics, in macroeconomics, in finance, and a couple of other subjects. So it's really important that you understand that without math, there is no business administration, neither international or national. So it's really important that people are aware of data will drive the future. And if you're able to deal with data, then you have to have a background in mathematics and statistics and a couple of other things. And of course, you can pick a couple of additional courses at the school when it comes to data science and all that. Then especially with regard to marketing or international accounting and drilling deeper and become really professional when it comes to data analysis, data mining, and also looking into artificial intelligence from a business perspective.
Okay, clear. Thank you very much. Now, again, moving to Wildau, I want to combine these two questions because they are both related to language. So first question is from Mahza. I'm going to apply for the master's when the uni needs C1 level. Is there any possibility to accept the language certificate lower than C1? My TOEFL is 86. And the second question is, hello, I graduated with CGPA of 3.35 out of 5, which should be fine because of GPA requirement is not really there, but also all was taught in English, which means if everything was taught in English, then it will be accepted, Professor. So yeah, please.
Yes, so on the second question, the rule is that if you have a degree program that was 100% taught in English, then you are in. So you have fulfilled that requirement, and you would not have any English, any test of English proficiency. So basically, the requirement is only relevant for those who have not attended a bachelor's degree in English language. If that is not the case, well, then you need the C1 level. I have to admit, I'm not completely familiar with the details of all the equivalent tests. I mean, the most common one is, I think, the TOEFL one, the equivalencies. But I mean, in principle, I mean, we do take this criterion serious because the courses do have a fairly high level of English. You just need that in order to get the analytical level right. And therefore, I mean, I would suggest if there is any case of doubt about the equivalency of C1, then please let us know, and I can put that to a preliminary assessment. That is not a problem. But the principal policy is that we really require C1. So if something that is below C1 and if there is no proof of a proficiency in terms of the academics, which means 100% English, or for that matter, I mean, we have this special criterion, which frankly speaking was mainly related to our old bachelor's program, because this was a program that was offered in combined English and German. So I stated that, and you can also find it on the website. If you have a certain amount of credits, I think it's 40%, and then combine that with B2, that would go through. Yeah. But in case of doubt, really, I would suggest send us the information, and we are going to provide a preliminary assessment.
Okay, perfect. And regarding this pre-evaluation, there was also a request in the questions whether you could provide your email contact for the pre-evaluation, Professor, or any relevant contact in the chat.
Yes, well, I can do that in the chat. That is not a problem.
Thank you.
The other option is that you just look it up in the presentation that is going to be posted on Monday, if I understand correctly. And
yes, exactly. So if you are in a hurry, look at the chat. If not, wait until Monday. So
I will try to put it into the chat. Yes.
Thank you. All right. So there's a question regarding the double degree options, and Megan put a very interesting answer to that. Could you also voice it up for all the students, Megan, or maybe Professor? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind. So I just know for our study program, we have a double degree in Finland, 𝘱𝘱𝘕. So it will not be 1 semester, but you will be staying 2 semesters study abroad. And there's a double degree program in the USA in Southern Oregon. That's just for our studies, but I know there are different schools for different studies, just if you have a friend and you want to recommend. But yeah, that's just for our for our study. Yeah.
It's important to know. Thank you very much, Megan. Then a question for both programs. Let's continue with Zar. Do you have any job fairs organized for students?
Of course, yes, we do have that. So every year we have various locations in Saarbrücken. So we have the business school, we have the School of Engineering, we have the headquarters, etc. And at all locations over the year, like 3 or 4 events happen where students can meet firms, where firms show up for internships, for direct placement, also for projects in terms of finding people. And we've just had that last week with PricewaterhouseCoopers at the business school, with the met students trying to find people for internships, but especially addressing the people for starting a career in audit and consulting in Luxembourg. So that happens on a more or less regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And in case of 𝘱𝘱𝘕?
In case of 𝘱𝘱𝘕, we have one job fair, which takes place once per year, which is mainly related to the regional employers, as far as I know. It also, I have to be honest on that, is not specifically directed to the English-speaking students. So it's one that covers the whole the whole studentship, which is of course the majority is German-speaking. But what I can say, and from our experience, and also, of course, from the general tendencies on the labor market, that there's an increasing openness and, in fact, an increasing need for international students, well-qualified immigrants for the German labor market. So basically, the openness is increasing. And in that respect, this job fair, which is traditionally more of a regional character, I think is certainly of an increasing interest for international students as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you. We are almost done with the questions. Professor Heder, let me stay with you. There is a person sent this question twice. Let me read it out. Can I seek exemptions with UK postgraduate diploma qualifications in HR management, strategic management, and leadership? So, yes.
Which means there's no bachelor degree, if I understand that correctly?
I feel that's, yeah, that's the question.
Well, that is, of course, a question that I cannot answer definitively here. What I would again ask you to do is to send your information, including the documentation, to, well, my email address or the general one that is stated on the website. And then I will provide this preliminary assessment by the last week of June that I can do.
Okay. Great. And I would suggest Anuradhi to do the same, because there's the same type of question. The question was, will we be accepting SIM professional diploma in marketing instead of bachelor's degree? So I would say the same as Professor already mentioned. For this also applies. Okay, then last 2 questions and we are done. Again, a very interesting point regarding this €5 startup, which was mentioned in the chat. I saw that Miguel mentioned. I would like also to mention here. So the question was, the original question was, I want to do BA and return home to start the company to improve it. So my question is, does the program curriculum encourage an entrepreneurial mindset? Megan, would you like to repeat your question, your answer?
Yeah, I said first we have in the 6th semester, we have the course entrepreneurship, and we also offer the 5-year startup. I believe it's every summer term. Mm-hmm. And then companies and professors come together and they just provide help for a group of people that if they want to start a business, how do they do it? They provide help, and I believe they can also compete against different teams. But please correct me, Professor Minter, if I say something.
That's just perfectly right. And if I got the question, Georgie, right, the question is about, is there specific skills that you acquire at HTVSR and then you can take home to your home country and boost your business or start your own business, etc.? Yeah, definitely. Lots of people do that currently. We'd love to have the people do that in Germany. However, To be very honest, most of them go back home with superior skills and then start their business somewhere in Pakistan, in India, etc. And they're quite successful because I think from the background of our professors, and especially in the international business program, we have a couple of modules that are really focusing on entrepreneurial skills when it comes to management or doing the finance part of it, creating a business case or defining the business model and all that. So I think that fits kind of well. However, we're a little bit reluctant of putting it on the website saying we're really an entrepreneurial business school, something like that, because currently we are not. However, I know lots of people use it for this purpose. So definitely yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Professor Heder, another tricky question regarding the work experience. Student asks, can it be online for an internship?
Well, again, that is something that we would have to judge along the concrete case. Yeah, I would not exclude that. I mean, we do have a lot of work experience now that is, of course, done online. So if there's really a clear documentation of the international component, I would not exclude that. But once again, of course, the definitive answer can only be given upon the concrete case.
Yeah, sure. Okay, great. So, Okere, I see your message regarding the visa procedures. Here are the links that you can check out. Also, I would put it in the chat for everyone. For those who need visa, check out these articles. We have multiple articles regarding visa procedure. Please check out. Here is our email. Let me also write it for everyone. For this kind of general questions, you can get in touch with us. And these last two questions are not questions, but thank yous for everyone. And they even list our names. Thanks a lot for joining. And thanks a lot for your interesting questions and for being with us. So let me now share my screen for official thank you part to our guests. Wonderful presentations. Very interesting presentations, to be honest, very nice answers to the questions. And of course, thanks to our attendees for tuning in, for being so many and for sending so many questions. I think we answered over 40 questions. I'm not sure. I cannot see now the list. But yeah, anyways, if you have more questions regarding specific programs that were presented today, you have their contact details. Also, you will receive on Monday the presentations on your emails with which you registered, and then you will see also further information regarding contact details. Get in touch with the universities themselves if you have any specific questions. If you have general questions like the VPD, for example, or visa or DAD or etc., get in touch with us. Here's also check out first our articles. There we already answer many questions, but if you cannot find the answer, of course we are also open to communication via email, for example, or the social media. And it would be nice also if you could leave any feedback to us on our Facebook or Google links. They are also in the chat. All right, with that being said, I want to once again thank everyone for a wonderful afternoon/evening and wish you a very nice rest of the day. Take care and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Last weekend. Bye-bye.